Howdy! In this podcast you'll hear from Dave Skiro, an eBay seller that has been selling on eBay for almost 10 years now. You'll hear how Dave's business started and his tips that you can use in your business today. Dave, can you tell us a little bit about what your business does?
Yeah, I can. Firstly, we're a purely an e-commerce business. We don't have any sort of retail shops or anything like that. We primarily sell musical instruments and accessories of a range of products, from low-value things like guitar plectrums and strings, all the way up through percussion instruments and up to guitars and cases and so on. We also have a second sort of set of accounts selling fishing tackle, so a little bit of a different focus there. And the majority of this stuff is imported from China and India and branded up on our own in our own brands. We do have a few UK suppliers, but the majority of the turnover and profit comes from the imported stuff.
And you've been around on eBay for a very long time. I've just looked up your eBay ID, and you've got over 81,000 feedback, and you've been on there since March 2006.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I've actually been on longer than that, I think. I think one of my other accounts has been on for much longer than that. Yeah, I think we initially set up in about 2005, I think, on sort of a personal account. What actually happened was my wife started selling her old clothes on eBay. She'd buy things and then wear them a couple of times and sell them on at quite a good price, really. So we kind of realised that we could buy things from the sale rails in shops and from other eBay sellers and even from charity shops, and then sell them at a profit on eBay. And we did that for a while, and it was we made a few quid. It was just sort of spare pocket money, I suppose. But the trouble was, it's not very scalable. We were, you're going out, you're looking for something, you're then describing it, photographing it, answering the questions related to it, and you're doing all that work just for a single sale. So I eventually started to have a look online and try and find some products which we could sell over and over and over again. And I found a Chinese supplier and took a bit of a punt, really. I sent him a few hundred quid by bank transfer. And I'll be honest, I didn't really know whether the stock had even arrived. I had absolutely no experience of retailing or importing or anything, so I sent this money and I thought, well, if it doesn't turn up, at least I tried it. But it did, it turned up, and sort of made our first real sale towards the end of January 2006, I think. And it just kind of went from there. I mean, by July, I'd left work, and that was my main source of income, was eBay. And now we're sort of 7 or 8 years later, and we've got a warehouse and staff and quite a few hundred product lines. So it all sort of started, really.
Wow. Okay. So the most obvious question which I've got, which is not in our list, which was that how come you've got fishing and how come you've got musical instruments? Are those two passions of yours?
The musical bits is I've always played guitar and I've been interested in making music. The fishing sort of came by accident, really. It's an interest of my brothers and my dad's, and they were like, get some fishing stuff. So
cheap products, didn't they?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So I got involved with that, and and it made a profit as well. I sort of keep them as separate as I can, really. Obviously, we don't want the same eBay ID selling both things, but it makes money, so there's no reason sort of closing it off because it's not an interest of mine. And I'd be open to any other product lines, really. I think having a few separate niche accounts and businesses it's not a terrible thing, really, because they all have the customers are different, and the peaks in the year are different. The musical instruments gets really busy at Christmas, but the fishing doesn't really take off until sort of spring and stuff like that. So we all have their own characteristics and challenges, and it all makes money ultimately.
So would you say, Dave, that it was obviously music was your passion, and your dad and your brother were both into fishing? Would you say that it was a good decision to move into something that you knew about or had passion about in order to sell the products? Did that help ultimately?
Yeah, I mean, it's one piece of advice you hear quite often is that you should do something that you know a lot about, and I don't really know whether that's strictly true or not. I mean, it does help, because when a customer asks a question about musical instruments, I can answer it myself, or the staff that I've trained to answer it can do.
Yeah.
Sometimes I still do get on the phone to my dad and my brother and say, what does this do, or how does that work? So I don't come across as acting like an idiot to the customer and getting it all wrong. But it wouldn't put me off getting involved in something that I didn't know a lot about, because you can learn things. Google's there. Everyone's a master of everything these days with Google. You can look up most of the answers you need, I think. So I don't think it's necessary to know everything.
Mm-hmm. It shouldn't hold you back, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it definitely shouldn't hold you back.
So you're currently one of the most active persons in the UnderstandingE forums. How did you find us in the beginning?
It was mainly from your site, Matt, Last Drop of Ink. I've followed that quite a bit. It offers some kind of unique advice. I mean, I follow the other sites, Tame Bay and e-commerce sites and so on. But I think the Last Drop of Ink offers quite specific advice to higher end sellers. Things like, I think you've got a post about gaining the Amazon buy box with a formula.
Oh, that's a really interesting story, actually, because we've got an interview from Shmuley from Feedvisor, and those guys have actually written a Bible to the Amazon buy box.
Right.
And in there, he's actually added a specific comment around this formula. And the thing is that formula works. If you need like a general rule, we sat down for quite a long period of time and just checked this item, and it really is 2.7%, or I think was it 2.2%? I can't remember. Probably need to check. Plus the extra penny, and when you were up against like for like sellers, then it made the difference between getting the buy box for much longer, and it's just an inexpensive rule for it. You don't need advanced software to do it. You're not always dropping by a penny and then not knowing. It was kind of the rule which worked between about £10 and £50. And I spoke to the guys who I originally did that research for, and they said, yeah, go for it. Share it. And that's what I did. And I know that it works. It doesn't work against FBA sellers, and definitely doesn't work against Amazon. But like for like sellers, yeah, it does work. And when it does work, it does mean you get the buy box. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried it myself with a few products, and I can confirm it definitely does. It does work, and I think it's advice like that off your other site, the Last Drop of Ink, that gained a bit of trust with me really for you, because you'd find it difficult to find that kind of advice on other sites. I don't know anywhere else.
Yeah,
advice like that. So I think when you sent us an email about UnderstandingE, I already warmed to you, so to speak. So I was ready to trust what you were going to say. So I was open to suggestions from you, put it that way.
Fair dues. So what did you think when you first came across the concept of using Magento and M2E Pro? And now that you know more, what do you really think?
If I'm brutally honest, when I first saw it, my first thought was, it's another free listing service. This is going to be awful. I hope you don't take offence by that.
No, please.
Just simply because I've tried to use cheap and free listing services in the past, and they've always had massive problems with them, or they've not been up to the job. But as you know, I've spent a bit of time over the past few weeks since you've opened the forum having a look at Magento and M2E Pro, and I'm pretty blown away really by the capabilities of it so far. I'm quite a difficult customer when it comes to things like this. I want everything to be right, and I want everything to suit our company. So for me to be impressed with it and it to be relatively cheap or free is quite a thing, really. And it looks like a fantastic system. I mean, the fact that you can sort of define the attributes, it's sort of genius, really. I know that eSeller Pro has custom fields, but the way it's handled in Magento, you can kind of put these attributes wherever you want in the inventory record, the way it's presented to the end user. Custom fields in eSeller Pro are kind of shoved away to one corner, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now you have to have a group of custom fields, and you can't share that custom field with other groups. Whereas then in Magento, you create the attribute or the custom field equivalent, and that one attribute can belong to many sets, so that you don't end up repeating yourself over and over. It's in one field, and if you need to change one field, you don't have to change multiple groups. It's there, and then of course with the attribute sets, you can pick and choose which attributes get assigned to that set.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean it's a very powerful system. I think it's a powerful inventory management tool in itself, really, which is a surprise considering it's a website back end ultimately.
We're going to do a podcast on how we found this, but the irony is that we want Magento not for the website. We want it for its inventory management, we want it for its order management, and we want it because it's an open source base, and it just so happens that you've got M2E Pro, which adds in the eBay listing, but not just for the UK. You can do multiple accounts. You can do, I think it's the 23 major eBay sites. And you've got Amazon in there as well. And the other reason we want Magento, because it is open source, then there's a massive, great big plethora of extensions available. I think actually you've been and purchased the extension from Jim from Magento as well, haven't you? The Ship Easy?
Yeah, I've got the Ship Easy, and I will be getting the Pick Pack quite shortly as well. Yeah, I mean, I think in the standard sort of, my installation at the moment still got a few small holes in it, and I believe that you're probably plugging most of those before January anyway, hopefully. But even if you don't, and I have to get a few things custom coded myself, and it costs a few £100, it'll pay for itself so quickly in comparison to the fees. So.
Yeah, so right now you're paying either a flat fee or a percentage for sale to your current provider, and this route you're just paying for shared hosting. Is that pretty much the analogy of what you've got?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we can pay with this new system with Magento. We'll hopefully pay once to get it all kind of set up, and then it'll stay like that until we need to make a change to it, in case we need to add something or change something with it.
But the pieces which you're adding and the changing are just specific to your company. It's not somebody else's, and it can be something off the shelf. You could go and get it coded for you. The word which we've used is innovate in there. If you need it, you can add it. And if it doesn't exist, then you can innovate within your own business and add it in, and it will suit your needs specifically. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that's one of the biggest pluses with it, really. It's kind of our software. Once we've got it, it's our software on our servers. We're in control with it, and I guess the sky's the limit with what you can do with it, really. And I think, I've sent a few listings to eBay and stuff, and played with it quite a lot over the past couple of weeks, and I do believe it's going to be very capable and a viable alternative certainly to eSource Pro and Channel Advisor and Linworks, the other sort of big ones, really. So in short, I'd say I'm very excited about the whole project. I can't wait to get going on it.
Yeah, I think you're probably one of the most excited people for past me and Dave. Yeah.
Which is great for us. It's great to know that someone else gets it as well, even at this early stage before we've even really released that much information. It's great to see that you've seen the potential and can see what it can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a lot of potential with it. I just can't wait to get stuck into it and get it all set up, hopefully.
Absolutely. And again, just a daft one here, Dave. This isn't something which has come around overnight. It's been around for years. Like M2E Pro has been going for about 3 years.
Right.
And it's tested. That's the crucial point. Argos on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
On there, they do like 2.6 to like £3 million per month, and something like 40,000 orders through the system. They're actually using M2E Pro and Magento to manage that inventory, manage that amount of orders. So if it can do it for Argos, and it did it for the original business which we found, and it will do it for you, we're kind of thinking, yeah, there's some legs in this, and we're quite excited. We really are.
Yeah, me too, definitely.
Okay, let's change the subject slightly. Dave, Christmas is coming up really quickly now.
It is, yeah.
Are you prepared, and do you envisage a busy sales period?
Yeah, we're very prepared. I mean, we've done a few Christmases now, and we have had some absolutely horrendous ones, as I'm sure everybody has, where I've been up till the early hours doing orders and leaving notes on piles of orders and mail bags for the person who comes in the morning, and they've been working all day and then I've been working all night again and stuff like that. So I think we've probably done, I'm not sure how many now, but we're quite well seasoned. We've done quite a few Christmases, so we've got a few casual staff in place. We've got all our systems in place, so we're ready. I think we did about 900 orders yesterday. That's Monday the 25th. I expect we'll be over the 1,000 mark next Monday, which I think it's Cyber Monday, is it next Monday? Is that?
It is indeed, yeah. It's Cyber Monday next Monday.
So, yeah, yesterday we did quite well. I mean, the staff are usually quite stressed at this time of year, but I spoke to the manager yesterday and he said everything was running smoothly. So, hopefully, we'll get all the orders out and deal with everyone's queries and without any major hiccups.
I do think like the Christmas is almost like a rite of passage for e-commerce sellers. You've got to have a bad one before you can sort of, learn your mistakes and get the craft right for Christmas. It is a totally different ball game.
Yeah, it is. You don't expect it really, do you? The first one, you don't expect how
No. You hear it, don't you? You hear about it, but you don't. It's like, oh, well, how bad can it be? And then bang. Like this weekend will probably be it. So you've got the Black Friday and that weekend period. Then you got start of December. Hopefully, if the weather holds off, because as soon as snow comes, people will just panic buy. So yeah, this weekend I imagine will be the big one.
I'm expecting that too.
Yeah.
Cool, Dave. Just one curious question. Out of the, say, 900,000 orders which will come through or more next week, what kind of percentage would you expect to come from eBay?
It's probably about 35-40% from eBay, and the vast majority of the rest of them from Amazon, and then a few from our website. Amazon do have the bulk. It used to be 50-50, but eBay seems to be not performing as well as it used to for us. Or maybe Amazon are performing better than they used to. It's difficult to say exactly which way it is. But yeah, I'd say about 35% maybe from eBay.
So what are your main aims for next year into 2014?
Well, as you have probably guessed, switching to Magento and M2E Pro is the number one thing really for next year. I mean, it's going to save thousands potentially each year, so I'm hoping to get that done. I couldn't possibly inflict it upon my staff at the moment this time of year, so I think I'll wait until mid-January when the returns from Christmas have died down and everything's sort of back to normal, and then hopefully by mid-February, maybe I'm being a bit optimistic there, but hopefully by mid-February we'll have that set up and we'll be running all of our accounts on there. And I think later on in the year we're going to try and push out to a few more international marketplaces. We currently on .com for eBay and Amazon, and we also do the European eBay sites in Australia with Web Interpret at the moment.
Yeah, how have you found that?
It's working well. Web Interpret are good at getting all your listings out there really quickly, because it's quite a big issue to deal with getting all the translations and stuff done. So when they've said, we'll do it all for you, I've just basically told them to go for it. And that's working quite well with eBay. I think what I would like to do, though, is when I have the Amazon European sites, I think I'd like to bring all the translation stuff kind of in-house. Well, maybe not bring the translation in-house, but get it all translated, outsource the translation, and have all the foreign language descriptions and stuff on our system, so we don't need to use Web Interpret. I'm not sure how well Web Interpret are going to work with Magento and M2E Pro, so...
I actually spoke to one of the team members from M2E Pro, and the way which it works is that the Web Interpret listing is classed as a third-party listing. So long as you set in the settings to ignore third-party listings, then you're fine. Right. Because Web Interpret do the stock control for you on those, and they take them from the UK listings, your main listings, and they'll take the stock levels from there. But they'll go off and list them onto the other sites, and when you make an order for those, they'll then come back in and appear as an order back into your sales order screen as well. Right, so it will work. Web Interpret will work with M2E Pro then, on a stock level? Yeah, as far as I'm aware, it will do for it. If not, I think we're talking to our guinea pig. Well, at least I can leave that running for a while then. But I think ultimately it makes sense to have it all, to kind of own it all ourselves, really. I mean, you know, they've done a good job of getting it sorted, and we can see the potential of it. But you obviously pay them commission, and to be able to do it yourself and have it all in house, I think is the best way ultimately. Absolutely. And just to give you a heads up to give you an insight on some of the stuff which we're working on. We're working with a company which is based in the Philippines, so that for somebody who's never got into the world of outsourcing before, we'll baby step them in. Something which we're working on with the whole UnderstandingE project is a very simple mythology, which is crawl, walk, run. So you've got to learn how to crawl. Then you can walk, and then you can run. Yep. And we're not only doing that with the guides. So literally the guides are going from how to choose a domain name to install a Magento, to getting used to Magento, to creating products, to installing M2E Pro. To basically, we are building up step by step. And we also know how you guys are wired as well. That we've actually recorded this where we actually go and say, right, guys, we are now going to go and run. We're really at this crawling stage, but we know that you're itching to go. So what we're going to do in this video is that we're going to run. Okay, so there's going to be some stuff which we're going to skip over, but just follow us along. Okay, just follow it along, press pause, and do it in your own system. Okay. There's going to be a lot of stuff which we're not going to cover, like categorization and some of the reasons behind we're doing certain things. But yeah, we got that in quite early because just to basically grab your attention on that, because otherwise it would be a little bit monotonous to go through and set up all these different settings. All kind of like boring because I know the way which you're wired. I know the way which I'm wired. I want to go and run.
Definitely. I'm trying to nest and run at the moment. You want to see results ultimately, don't you?
Yeah, you want to see the results. You want to see a product. You want to see an order, and you want to see how it all links back together again. And that is one of the guides which we've got in there, which is that, right, guys, we're going to run now. Follow us along. We might lose you in a few places, but don't worry. Just hit rewind and then press play again and again. If you need us, we're in the forums and just ask away.
Cool. I'll wait to see it.
Indeed. So what one piece of advice would you give to somebody who's listening to this and wants to start their own e-commerce business? Or what do you now know that you wish you knew when you originally started?
I'd say the biggest piece of advice is to automate as much as you can, really. Automation is the key to this. I think if a computer can do something that you would otherwise be doing yourself, you need to get the computer doing that. And right at the very, very start, anyone who first sets up, the first thing they will be doing probably is writing addresses out by hand. I'm sure we've all been there at some stage.
Yeah, I used to have these great big A3 pads, so I used to work for Xerox over on site at Rolls-Royce. And I remember printing out these, I made them up in Excel and made this great big A3 pad and wrote down every address for it. And it was like, you can imagine how many sheets I got through. It was about 2-3 inches thick by the time I'd finished with it. Sorry, I see where you're coming on that one.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say the first thing, I think one of the first things we ever bought was, I think made maybe 80, 90 quid profit or whatever. And the first thing we did was went out and bought a Dymo label printer so we could copy and paste the addresses from eBay, which in itself was like a massive step. But if you take that automation sort of principle further, it applies to every step of the business. Now we've got a setup where an order comes in, the system decides which courier to use rather than us deciding, and then the system books it in with the courier rather than us phoning the courier to book it in, and so on. And that, it just saves you so much time, and it's time which you shouldn't be doing these tasks. You should be spending your time on directing your business. And I suppose a step further than that is if you can't automate it, try and delegate it to someone, get a staff member to do it for you, really.
I'm here nodding in the background. I remember buying the Dynamo label printer was a purple little printer with a little silver lid, and we bought all these labels and we were copying them, just doing exactly what you were doing, copying and pasting them into the Dynamo software, and then it was printing out the labels, and that saved us loads of time from writing stuff. And then the other one was that when I hired my first employee, who was my girlfriend at the time, Helen, and she's now my wife, is that half of Helen's day was spent on copying and pasting information from what was then MarketWorks into Parcelforce, into the Parcel website, so that we could then print the labels out. And she got pretty quick by the end of it with copy and paste. And for somebody who said that she had no computer experience, was pretty damn fast at Control-C, Control-V, and getting the information in. And again, that is it's like the rite of passage to have written orders down on paper and then do it, and then put in a printer which can save you some time, and then get some software into place, and then crucially get the couriers into place as well, so you're not spending half your day typing stuff into couriers. So you've got the couriers into place. Oh, delegation.
Yeah, delegating it to other staff members. I mean, ideally, I've always thought the holy grail would be, I'm nowhere near this myself, but if you had a business that you could walk away from for a year and come back and it was still running as well or even better than it was when you left it, that's sort of the ultimate, really. If you have things automated and delegated to a degree that you don't need to be there day to day for a long period of time, it's probably impossible. I wouldn't say it's impossible. It's probably very difficult to get to that stage, and I don't think I'd want to be away for that long. But
have you ever read the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, Dave?
I've not read it. I've heard of it.
Yeah, that's the sort of utopia that he talks about.
Right.
That, you sort of jump in for 4 hours a week, and that's it. Your business runs passively without you in a large part of the sense, but you still get the income coming in.
Yeah.
It's a nice concept.
Yeah, I'm not sure quite how realistic it is. I mean, Well, I don't know.
I know. I seem to get the impression that Tim Ferriss is probably one of the hardest working people in America currently. But
4 hours.
the same with all these people who claim, passive income. But I think the key is if you do what you love doing, then it's not really work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's the sort of message underneath it.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to be away for. I'd be itching to get back to it, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
A week.
Which is one of the challenges which Mr. Ferriss goes and covers in his book. Like, if you've got this extra time, what do you do with it? But actually, I've seen so many different business owners now going through different sales routes, and one of the nice routes which a salesperson will tell you is that if you use this software, you'll get so much time to spend with the family and the children and things like that. And that is absolute tripe, because I've never known a single entrepreneur ever do that, because they'll go and find something to preoccupy themselves instead. They'll go and find another supplier. They'll do better descriptions. They'll go and work in the warehouse. We're just kind of wired that way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. But I suppose that's how you expand your business. If you didn't do that, if you did walk away and went on holidays and sat around doing that, then your business would stagnate and wouldn't grow.
So I think what you're trying to say there, Dave, is to work on your business for as much as possible rather than in it, so that the best use of your time is not packing products, which you'll have to dive in by the sounds of it for the Christmas period, and that's great. You've been building up for that for the entire year, but maybe the best use of your time, or the person which is listening to this, is to spend their time working on their business. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, yeah. If you're doing the day-to-day tasks, then you're not directing the course of your business, are you? You're just sort of, you've just got a job, basically. If you're just packing orders, you're working for your business. So, yeah, definitely makes sense that way, yeah.
Excellent. Dave, thank you ever so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
When we recorded the interview with Dave, the guides weren't ready yet. But they are now, and we'll show you how you can take Magento and turn it into your own multi-channel software tool to sell onto eBay, onto Amazon, and of course, if you want to, how to build your own Magento website too. You can join today by going to understandinge.com/join. Oh, and PS, it's free to join. And of course, from myself, Matt, Dave, and of course Dave Skiro too, thank you for listening in, and we'll see you soon. Cheerios!